Hi, grade nines. Let's talk about blood. Okay, so today's lesson, we're going to look at the blood, and I hope you've watched that the couple of videos that I uploaded last week for you to watch. Please go watch them again because they really are quite nice. It's always nice to see an interesting video. But what's in the PowerPoint, which relates to your notes, is the following. So we finished off looking at blood vessels and taking pulse and everything like that. So now, where's it gone? Oh, wait. Speed this up. Right, there we go. Okay, so this is the diagram that I've put into your workbooks on blood. Okay, now if you had to take a tiny little drop of blood and make a microscope slide of it, and then it also gets stained, you would see the following. All right, and in fact, in the lab, I do have some prepared microscope slides that we buy and put them under the microscope, and you will see something similar. So the main components of blood, well, first of all, there's a straw yellow liquid, which is called plasma, and that's where lots of the dissolved nutrients and salts, etc., are in. And then you've got the three different types of cells. Okay, these ones here that look like donuts, but not all the way through. They don't have a hole in the middle. They're just a little bit thinner in the middle. They are known as the red blood cells. And then you have usually larger white blood cells, and they stain up purple. Okay, and they have very odd shaped nuclei, and they've even got different names. So some of them, it looks like little headphones or little lobed nuclei, and they've got different names like basophils, eosinophils, neutrophils, and they all play a different role in immunity. Okay, but we don't have to know all of that. So you can see here there are two white blood cells that have been stained, and there are two as well. Now, these little yellow things here, or these tiny little things in between the cells in the top photograph, those are the platelets, and those are the structures that enable the blood to clot. All right, so there's a lovely diagram. This is called a stereogram. All right, now you've got about 5 to 6 liters of blood in your body, depending on how tall you are, etc. That's on average, so it could be less, it could be more. And I see I've written in your book that if you had to take one blood cell and see how many kilometers it travels in one day, in 24 hours in your body, 96,000 kilometers. Okay, that's very, very far. All right, so here you can see the plasma as well. They sometimes call it the straw-colored liquid, pale yellow liquid, because of all the salts dissolved in it. All right, and things like gases and waste products like CO2, and all the nutrients, so amino acids and glucose and all the other sugars, okay? And hormones, because hormones are made in glands in your body, and then they travel in the blood to where they need to go. Like growth hormone will travel from your pituitary gland inside at the bottom of your brain, and it will travel to your muscles and to your legs and arms and your bones and everything to help you to grow. All right, so as I've said, there are 3 types of cells. These ones here are the red blood cells. Now, those are the ones that carry oxygen, okay? They have got this shape where it looks like they're a donut, but there's not a hole the whole way through, and they dented in from both sides. So they're said to be biconcave. Concave means dented in, and they're dented in from both sides. And you can see that over here. Now, they're quite flat, and they don't have a nucleus. The nucleus dies before they leave the bone marrow. They're actually made in your bones. In fact, the white blood cells, platelets, all the blood is made in your bones. The cells are made in your bones by cell division, and then they leave the bones via blood vessels, and then they travel around in your blood. And the red blood cells only last for about 3 months because they don't have a nucleus. But that gives them space for more hemoglobin. And if you remember, hemoglobin is the pigment that allows them to carry oxygen. Now, the thing about hemoglobin is if you don't have enough iron in your blood, then your hemoglobin won't be able to pick up enough oxygen, and you'll feel tired and you'll be pale, and then you're said to have anemia. Now, if you go donate blood, I go donate blood, and then they prick your finger, one of your fingers, they take a drop of blood, and they put it in a beaker of blue copper sulfate solution. Okay, it's just a blue salt that is dissolved in liquid. You've probably seen it in science. And they put that drop of blood in, And if it stays at the top, then it means it hasn't got enough hemoglobin. It's too light. If it hasn't got enough iron, it can't make hemoglobin, and then it can't carry enough oxygen. But if that little drop of blood sinks through the blue liquid, then they know that you're not anemic and that you can donate blood. All right. Now, if you look here, these are all the white. Oh, one more thing. The red blood cells, if you look at them from the side, they're quite flat. They're almost like flexible frisbees, and they're able to squeeze through very, very narrow blood capillaries. And they've got a big surface area. So because of that denting in from both sides, lots of oxygen can diffuse through all around the cell, into the cell, attached to the hemoglobin, and then that oxygen is released when these cells, or at least when the red blood cells reach the cells in your body. Then oxygen diffuses out of the blood capillaries and into the cells of your body. What was the other thing I wanted to say? Oh, yes. So in your books, it talks about this protein pigment called hemoglobin. So when oxygen joins to it, it's called oxyhemoglobin. You'll see on page 71. And in fact, there's something like 250,000, okay, 250,000 hemoglobin molecules per red blood cell. So each red blood cell can pick up 250,000, 250,000 oxygen molecules. So if you imagine now you've got millions of red blood cells in your body and they're each picking up 250,000 oxygen molecules, imagine how much oxygen is being transported around your body. All right, the other thing, these little platelets in between, I'm now looking at page number 72 at the bottom. Okay, these little platelets in between, they are actually fragments of cells. So they're also made in the bone marrow, and it's cells that break up into little pieces, and they produce lots of protein fibers. I always think of Spider-Man. Okay, so what happens is when you cut yourself, then these little platelets at the wound, they will release the little fibers. They're called fibrinogen, and it will help to clot or to stop the bleeding and to trap the cells. But I'll show you that in another picture. All right. Sorry. Then over here, these are all the white blood cells, and I'm going to discuss their role in another picture. And you can see that some of them are large, some of them are small, different shaped nuclei, and they all play a role in immunity. All right, so if we just go to this next slide, which I keep popping back to, I'm sure you know what the answer is here. On the left-hand side, what type of blood is that? It's oxygenated blood. So lots of hemoglobin in the red blood cells is picking up oxygen, whereas on the right-hand side, that is deoxygenated blood. So that's why I always go on about the fact that it's not blue. It's a darker, deeper red color. There's still oxygen. It doesn't mean that all the red blood cells push all the oxygen molecules out of your cells and then take on all the CO2. It's an ongoing process. Okay, so that's oxygenated blood on the left and deoxygenated blood on the right. Okay, I'm going to stop this video and then I'm going to make another one about the role of white blood cells and immunity. Okay. This is what